Hello, friend. I hope that you are doing well. Today I'm going to do some traditional video of mine where I draw and tell a story. I haven't done that in quite some time, so here we go. There once was a little village that was very, very big. According to a very small person, they lived in the bushes and in the corners of this little village. They liked to live their own little life and not interrupt or interact with anyone. They sort of just kept to themselves. But the village, to normal people, was actually quite small. But this person, they were a little bit of a gnome. They were tiny, and they didn't quite know anyone like them. But one day, their life was about to do a little bit of a different dance. Yes, it was not quite the way it normally was, because a chicken one day jumped along to the other side of the road, and they didn't usually do that. They were in their coop, and that's where they were supposed to be. But they jumped along to this little gnome. Their name is Drufel the gnome. And Drufel was surprised by the little chicken who said, "Hi, I have lost some of my bejeweled eggs, and I think there's a crow that has been eyeing them that took them. Could you go in the crow's nest and check for the bejeweled eggs?" And since Drudel, I already forgot the name. Since Drudel had nothing better to do that day, they said, "Sure, why not? I'll go out into the forest and see what will happen. See if I can find your bejeweled eggs." Oh, and the chicken offered some other eggs as payment. The chicken was way too busy teaching the little ones how to sing their little chicken songs and bucking, burring on the silly little noises chickens do. Burr, 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 burr. Burr, 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 burr. And Badoodle, I forgot the name again of this character. Badoodle is their name now, the little gnome. They went into the forest to spot the crow's nest, and they saw the crow's nest, and it had lots of bejeweled eggs. And he thought to just snap them up and grab them and put them in a basket. And the crow came down and said, "Hey ho, what are you up to, little one?" The gnome said, "I'm going to take back what has been stolen. These bejeweled eggs do not belong to you." And the crow said, "Oh, what? That's preposterous. Where have you possibly heard such a story? These eggs were made by me. I picked and searched for jewels here and there that no one ever came looking for. I'm sure the jewels were someone else's at some point, but they sure weren't looking for them. And these eggs were certainly not bejeweled before I got to them. These are my bejeweled eggs. I made them with my bare beak." And Blubbery the gnome said, "Well, you see, the chicken said it was theirs. Now I'm quite confused and unsure of what to do," said the gnome. Blubbery. And I sure need to go and ask the chicken what's going on. The crow said, "Well, if they told you to steal my eggs, I'm sure they won't give an honest answer. You need to spy on the chicken and see where it goes at night." So Blubber the gnome made sure to wait until nightfall to look at where the chicken was up to. And it went into a dark and darkly lit corner of the village, where it thought to itself, "Oh, I am quite scared," for it was very scared looking. The chicken was. And then a big old peacock came up from a bush, and they said, Have you got your payment? If you do not give me the payment by tomorrow, I will keep your little chicks as my prisoners forever. And they will work in my bar. And the chicken said, I tried. I got a town gnome with their skillful hands to steal some eggs for me. That would surely be payment enough. But you see, it must have been delayed. But I'll sure I can trick someone into giving me the payment. I'm very cunning, you see. And I'm a great ally, so don't give up on me quite yet, Peacock. Oh, great. So now the gnome know what to do. They had to save the little chicks from the peacock. And he spotted out the place, looked around to see the area, and it was a big cabin with lots of boxes and a stage, and the little chicks were dressed up in little frilly skirts and had little hats with feathers on them, and they were dancing. The peacock was watching over them with an evil eye, and it seemed like there was a place in the back where possibly the chicks were held when they weren't working. And the gnome devised a plan. And he thinks best when he's out for a walk, so he walked back to the crow to apologize for the confusion before. And the crow got to hear the story. The gnome told them all about it. All about it. So. When the gnome told the crow was shocked and upset at the peacock and said, "You know what? I can help you. I want to help the little chickens. And I understand why the chicken wanted to trick me, for after all, the little chicks are way more important than my bejeweled eggs. Even though I'm a little disappointed that they didn't try to converse with me. But I'll help you get the chicks out. And so Blubbery the gnome and Kevin the crow went out on an adventure. They went to the chicken and said, "We have a plan to get your chicks back." And they were surprised. And they were sorry. They said they were sorry about trying to steal the eggs, but they couldn't involve anyone in the plan, for if the peacock had any sort of hint that the chicken told anyone else about it, they would send the chickens off, the little chicks off, away to a place where they would never be seen again. So, but now the chicken had no choice. So they devised a plan where the chicken gave the eggs to the crow's eggs to the peacock. But they didn't. They wanted to make sure that the chicks got out safe, so as they were making that deal, all the peacock and their servants and their minions were making that deal. The crow wanted to make sure that this sort of thing never happened again. And so what the gnome wanted, the gnome snuck through a window and lockpicked the place where the chicks were held. And so they got freed. And they went out the back door. But also to send a message, they put lots and lots of fireworks and little poppers and bombs in the shed. And as they escaped that night, would be a show like no one's ever seen before in the little village, where the little shed, the cabin where this all took place, it exploded in a wild fire of color and explosions. And it shocked the peacock, and the chicken could therefore keep the jeweled eggs for the crow that rightfully belonged to the crow. And the fireworks sure did send a message. The chicken said, "Those are my associates, my friends, and if you stay in this village, if you come back to this village, you will have to do with them. So leave this village And don't ever kidnap little chicks again. For if I ever notice that you do so, we will come after you again. And so, after that day, all the villagers of the town were so confused about the fireworks show that happened one sudden night. But the little gnome would always know about the hero crow and their adventures that night. And that's one of the gnome adventures of Blubbery, which changed names a couple times until I could remember. But that was only 20 minutes, so I'm going to tell you some more about the gnome, Blubbery the gnome. They gather little bits and bobs, much like the crow actually, except not jewels, but bits and bobs that people drop and forget about. And with these bits and bobs, they make their own little tools that they can use for their gardening. A little rake made with a pencil and a piece of a thimble. A thimble? Is that what they're called? Little things you use when you sew. And lots and lots of things. And they make a little wheelbarrow of a button and half a cup, half of a teacup. Yes. And they plant little flowers here and there in caps, in bottle caps. They have a little garden, lots of tiny little flowers. Some snowdrop flowers, white and hanging down. Some of those yellow, basic yellow flowers that are tiny. I don't know what they're called. Are they called buttercups? I kind of want to look it up. What are buttercups? They're flowers, right? They're also something you eat. Anyway. What are some tiny flowers? Skeleton flowers are pretty cool. They grow in there. Skeleton flowers they look white when they're normal and dry, but when it rains, they go see-through from the water. And that's really cool. I really want to see some of those in real life at some point. A garden is often looked upon by the townsfolk, but most of them don't see who makes the little gardens. Some of them think that it's just naturally grown, but some of them think that it's someone with a tiny hobby in the village, maybe a child. But the crow and the chicken friends know that it's the gnome of the village, Blubbery. So remember that, my friends. Blubbery is a great gardener. And they have lots of little tricks and talents that you wouldn't expect. They can also sing pretty tunes in the night. They're really good at making clay pots with tiny bits of clay. And they can climb and climb really well, for they have strong hands and arms and fingers. And they can climb and climb and climb a lot, which is very handy when you're as tiny as they are. And they are as tiny as they are, and they are as tiny as they are. And they are really fond of writing letters. They write them every time they get a chance. They have a faraway friend, a gnome that lives in another village, that they usually send their little letters to. And they talk about poetry, or they write poetry, talking about the world and the thoughts they have. So they're making each other very happy. Here's a little thought, a little note, a little poem that they wrote. The sun is brighter than a star, but my heart can feel the waves of the heat too hard, so I sulk in the summer nights and feel the heat of the stars. What's the poem they made about the strength, the overwhelmingness of emotions sometimes? Even when they're positive, it can be overwhelming. So the stars with their less light glow is nice and slow and soft, but still pretty and still nice. And I think, or at least that's what I think it means, but what do I know? I'm just a poet lover of a gnome's poems. Oh, can you hear that clicking? My pen, I'm getting some lead out. Some lead out. out, some let out, some let out. Thank you, little pen. I appreciate you for letting your let out. It's always nice that you're on my team and working as well as you can to be nice and working and functional. Nice and working and functional. For me, I appreciate your effort. Thank you very much, little pen. Thank you very much, very much, very much, very much, very much so, very much so. But, I think that's it for today. Thank you for being amazing. Loves you very much. Keep yourself relaxed. Keep yourself happy as you sleep. Sleep, 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 sleep. I believe in you.